Varvatos was the greatest demon lord among men who reincarnated as a typical nobody in the forest. His powers transferred along with him, and he quickly became the strongest mage in this entire world. But the one thing that didn't change was his ability to make friends. After losing his hot best friend before developing plot, he decided to jump off the edge and hug the ground before remaining a virgin forever. In the countryside far in the future, Varvatos was reincarnated as a child called Isekai'd Meteor. With his new family, they celebrated his 10th birthday. Since the moment he was born, Isekai'd spent every moment studying this world's magic and trained to become the world's best martial artist. After 10 years of training, he realized that he still hadn't made any friends. So when he heard kids playing outside of his window, Isekai'd uses all 3 of his brain cells and screams at the kids to become his friends. But the kids thought he was an ugly loser, so they decided to run away from him, crushing Isekai'd's confidence. But he decided to try once more. Before approaching 3 girls in the town, Isekai'd's anxiety causes him to collapse in the middle of the alley. And when the girls saw his creepy ass, they decided to run away from him. However, Isekai'd screams at the girls to face him and tells them that he's a man of culture and wants to develop plot with all of them. But the girls call him a disgusting ugly creep and run away.
Emotional damage!
He takes out his frustration on the entire forest and destroys it with his immense magical abilities. While sitting and wondering what to do, he asks Isekai'd how he could become friends with others. So the mayor told him that he just needs to be kind to everyone that he meets, and goes on to tell him something about his daughter. But Isekai'd decides to go and respect all the women he meets.
It's an evil world we live in.
As he continues trying to calm down, he hears a girl screaming in the middle of the forest, and finds a giant wolf fighting against a silver-haired girl. This rare creature is usually peaceful, so Isekai'd wonders if she's taking her anger out on the wolf. The mayor enjoys a cup of tea with Isekai'd's parents, and he reveals that his daughter has been getting bullied recently. At the same time, the girl uses her magical abilities to unleash a massive lightning blow towards the wolf, pulverizing it in an instant. She turns around and wonders why there's a creepy kid spying on her. Isekai'd approaches Irina as he uses his last brain cell, complimenting her for her massive cannons. But when he sees that she didn't like that, he decided to call her flatter than a surfboard. If only Isekai'd had instead told Irina that he plays the sponsor of today's video, Honkai Star Rail, a new multi-platform galactic fantasy RPG from Hoyoverse, the makers of Genshin Impact. Whether you want to play on the phone or on PC, this game looks absolutely stunning, with some of the greatest customizable characters to play with, and scenery looking straight out of an anime movie. Experience some of the most stunning combat battles, along with OP abilities that'll make you hooked harder than I am on Fushuan's face, the new 5-star limited quantum-type character. She protects all her teammates from taking damage, but she's already struck critical damage on my heart. Along with her, the new limited 5-star character, Imbibitor Lune, is tall and looks straight up better than Varvatos in his prime. With his broken imaginary type DPS on the path of destruction, he can devastate the battlefield with his waves of water attacks. And with all of this in the new version 1.3 update, you will get to experience the story following the Shianju storyline, and you can take part in the roguelike simulated universe game mode. On top of all of that, there are 10 free warps waiting to be won after logging in for 7 days. Who knows, you might win one of the 2 characters. So what are you waiting for? Download the game using the link in the description and use the redemption code on the screen to redeem 50 Stellar Jades. Thanks a lot to Honkai Star Rail for sponsoring me today.
Smile! I'm gonna keep our first photo, alright?
It should have been me, not him! It's not fair!
His attempts keep backfiring, so Isekai'd decides to unleash his ultimate weapon and asks her if she would like to become his friend. But instead of running away, she says the word friends. This is the first time Isekai'd's ever gotten a response, so he goes on to continue trying to lure her into being his friend. However, she tells him that it's impossible for them to ever understand one another, and she runs away from him. Irina runs back in tears to her father, and Isekai'd comes to tell him that his advice was just as worthless as his face, but sees Irina and thinks that this is fate. Throughout the next few weeks, Isekai'd is an adamant, persistent man and continues trying to become her friend, but she just kept running away from him. The only thing he kept wondering was,
Why are you running? Why are you running?
On her birthday, Isekai'd gifted her a bouquet of roses, but Irina asked him how he knew her birthday. Isekai'd replied that he knows everything about her, even how many moles she has and all their private locations.
What? What the fuck?
She burnt his flowers and called him a creep, Ard, however, will not give up. In the middle of one of the nights, Irina electrocuted a bear with her magical ability, but noticed Ard was watching her. Ard reveals that he's here to escort her home, but Irina begins running away from him. He kept following everywhere she went, and he told her that she's like the moon. Nay, she is even more beautiful than any moon in this world. In fact, he went on to explain it in simpler terms.
I like you, and I want you. Now we can do this the easy way, or we can do it the hard way. The choice is yours.
She ran away, and Ard thinks he will never give up. Ard goes home, and holy shit, this dude's a psycho. He's tried using poems and singing, but none of it worked. This didn't even work in his previous life. I wonder why. While laying down, Ard hears the sounds of people screaming and sees that goblins have invaded the village. The girls who rejected him are getting chased by goblins, and he thinks it serves them right for rejecting him.
He cold.
His father begins battling against the goblins, and the mayor comes and reveals that Irina has been missing since today's morning. Immediately, Ard realizes this could be his fault for causing Irina to run after all his attempts, so Ard promises to find her and come back. He takes off flying, which shocks both of the men. In the middle of the forest, Irina is surrounded by goblins from all sides. They mock her for thinking she would have beaten them, and Irina realizes that she has no hope. The goblin asks her if she's going to be screaming for her friends, but she doesn't have any. She remembers how everyone in this world continued calling her scary and bullying her, so Irina decided to give up and throws her weapon down. The goblins are ready to end Irina and jump towards her. Irina calls out Ard's name for the first time. She asks him why he would do such a thing, so he reveals that he wanted to save her from these weak goblins. Irina warns him and tells him to run, but Ard will not run away. He activates his lightning abilities and destroys all of the goblins standing in his way. He warns the goblin leader to run away if he wants to continue living. They launch and are ready to devour Ard, but with a single glance of his eye, he makes them explode in their tracks. The goblin leader realizes the trouble he's in, and Ard stares at him once again to send the fear of God into him. He tells the goblin to regret the decision he's made, and with a glance, he makes him explode in his place once more. Ard comes towards Irina, asking her if she's okay, but the only thing she wonders is why he saved her, because all she wanted to do was perish. She's been lonely and isolated, hurting her all this time. But he reveals that he's also felt the suffering of being lonely and isolated. Ard gets on his knees, promising that he will never betray a friend again, because in his past, he ended up betraying his very best friend. This is why he wants to forge an eternal friendship with her. She tries to reveal her secret, but hesitates and asks him if he would promise to always be her friend and to never betray her. Ard promises on the name of the demon Lord Varvatos, and Irina accepts his promise. Several years later, Ard lays in bed and Irina comes to wake him up. He asks what a woman in her prime is barging into a man's room. Irina tells him that she wants to develop plot and is ready for the she asks him to join an academy of magic, so they go to meet the headmaster. The principal is excited to meet the two children of the three heroes, but Ard is disappointed because he just wanted to be a typical nobody. The headmaster reveals that he's heard of the time where they saved the town by destroying all the goblins, so he will exempt them from taking the physical exam. Ard gladly accepts, and after they take the exam, they look at their scores. Irina happens to be at the top of the charts, but Ard's name is nowhere on the screen. But upon closer inspection, Ard sees that his score was a 0. The only possibility of him passing is that someone must be trying to make a mockery of him. But the headmaster comes from behind and congratulates him. All of Ard's answers go beyond genius, and he only scored a 0 because they were incorrect in today's modern technology. The headmaster encourages all the students to learn from Ard, and reveals his parents were the great heroes who fought off dragons. Ard's plans of remaining a typical nobody get completely shattered, and a mysterious woman with great assets was watching this. While walking with Irina, Ard wonders how he never knew his parents were great heroes, but Irina tells him she's glad to spend her future with him. When they entered the class, everyone begins wanting to be friends with them. Ard is frustrated he can't be a background character, but is at least happy he can have friends. Not everyone is a fan of this development, but Ard hears a man screaming at a girl in the corner. The man slaps her down, and Irina yells at him to stop bullying the girl. This man is Iraldo, and this girl happens to be a servant of his family, so Iraldo yells at Irina to not meddle in his family's affairs. Ard interjects, saying he's mistaken if he believes it to be acceptable to do this whenever he wants. Ard demands he apologizes to the girl, but Iraldo challenges him to a duel if he wants to protect the girl so badly. The teacher walks by to break up the commotion, but Ard recognizes this voice. He sees her outfit and ears, and knows exactly who she is. Olivia was one of the followers of Varvatos, and knows he's screwed because she's likely furious with Varvatos for hugging the ground passionately. He tries to play it off normally, and tells her that she's looking just as beautiful as when he last saw her. Olivia notices something is off, and asks him where she's met him before. Ard tries to come up with something, but Olivia approves their duel, and asks Ard to show her his power. In the middle of the field, Ard wonders how he could win while concealing his identity from Olivia. Iraldo tries to taunt Ard, and summons a magical summoning circle that launches magical energy towards Ard. However, Ard isn't scathed at all, and had activated a magical wall to show off in front of everyone. Iraldo commends him for defending his attack and says he will take back his statement, but Ard calls his attack complete garbage. This infuriates Iraldo, and he goes on to summon another fireball towards Ard, but Ard blocks it with his magical shield once again. Iraldo is shocked, wondering how his Mega Flare is being completely neutralized. But Ard wonders what he means by Mega Flare. It was nothing but a normal flare. Ard realizes he's faking the names to be cool, so he reveals that he also used to act like a clown by giving cool names to basic spells, but he couldn't progress if he kept doing that. Iraldo gets angrier by Ard's mocking statements, and sends tens of flares towards Ard, but he defends all of them like an edgelord. Everyone is surprised how Ard can handle a Giga Flare, but Ard notices something off again. His attacks were just a bunch of simple flares, so Ard goes on to tell Iraldo that he's mistaken, and goes on to show him what a Giga Flare is. Olivia watches impressed, and Ard snaps his finger. Immediately, the Giga Flare disappears, and Iraldo wonders how he's not damaged. Ard goes on to explain the situation to him. What he just saw was a Giga Flare, and he tells him to never forget who the real Giga Chad is.
He cold.
Irina tells the pink-haired girl to just let her know if Iraldo ever bullies her again, and Ard apologizes for being a bit childish when destroying Iraldo. Olivia interrogates him and asks how he managed to activate 2 spells at once. Ard struggles to come up with a reason. He had created a magical wall for Iraldo so he doesn't get roasted like a chicken by the Giga Flare. Olivia asks him how he managed to pull a double cast, but Ard tries to explain by saying that he only used merely 2 spells at once, and that he's used to activating dozens of Demon Lord rank spells at the same time. Olivia reveals that even a double cast is a lost skill, and asks him why he's able to use a lost skill. Further, she wonders why he has no common sense for this era, and promises that she will eventually get that information out of him with her giant plot cannons. A week later, Olivia tells everyone to start forming a 3-person party, and everyone instantly huddles around Ard and Irina. But they both notice that the pink-haired girl is alone. Irina asks her to join their party, and the girl humbly accepts. She introduces herself as Ginny, a succubus, and she thanks them for saving her the other day. Their mission is to hunt a black wolf today, and she tells Ard that it must be easy for him to handle this. When they face their first wolves, Ard completely burns them to a crisp. The mission was to skin their hide, but Ard struggles to control his immense power and hold back. Ginny apologizes for being so useless and holding them back, but Ard tells her that he could teach her to help her build confidence. She sees his earnest look and accepts his offer. Ard begins by demonstrating his magical ability. Ard says that succubi usually have great magical aptitude and a great ability for sucking. Sorry, I'm not sure how that got into the script. A wolf approaches and Ard spins his hand in a circle, unleashing a magical explosion on the wolf. This is a special technique that can cast magical circles remotely, and he asks them to keep it a secret because he's the one who created it. This impresses the girls, and he goes on to ask them to memorize the technique he's about to teach. Ginny tries it out and destroys the monster in her path. She hugs him and tells him she's ready for child making. Irina sees this plot development and wants to learn what child making is. Ard wants to experience his dreams but ends up falling into a hole before falling into their holes. Ard realizes they've been inside a labyrinth, so this must be the Minotaur's lair. He faces off with the monster, but tells them that he will begin teaching the last lecture. He blocks the Minotaur's strike with his finger like a Giga Chad and punches him away. He then casts a remote magic spell to take advantage of the situation. Ard explains that they can use this remote magic quickly to summon hundreds of magical circles without consuming any mana in the process. He burns the Minotaur to ashes and asks Ginny if she would like to deliver the final blow, wishing for her to muster the courage and say goodbye to her past. For Ginny, she's wished this whole life that someone like a demon lord would one day come to rescue her, so she constantly avoided reality, but she doesn't want to run anymore. Ard congratulates her on defeating the monster, and Irina comes to hug her and cheer her up for her victory. They present the Minotaur's horns to Olivia, and Ginny explains that Ard's legendary script magic that only Varvatos has ever used was the way they beat the boss. Olivia is suspicious of what she just said, but Ard tries to think of something to get out of this situation. Iraldo mocks Ginny and says that she was probably useless that whole time, so Ginny walks up to him. She tells him to apologize to Ard for the things he said, but Iraldo mocks him and Irina once more. Ginny slaps the crap out of him and sends him launching. Irina goes on to throw the fur bucket on his head, and Iraldo runs away. As they laugh together, Ard is glad to have a lovely day with both of them.
くりとな。
Sensational.
As he walked around school, he realized he would be expelled if they uncovered his identity, but Ginny came up to him and asked him if he could go on a date with her. He wondered why giant plot cannons would be asking him on a date, but before he could accept, Irina decided to jump in and beg to go on the date as well. Ginny thought about it and accepted, saying that she thinks Ard should in fact build a harem if he could. When Ginny explained what isekai harems are, Irina said she would never allow Ard to have a harem. Inside the movie theater, Ard watched a movie about his past life, and when Varvatos prepared his sword, Ard felt two shields pushing up on him. But Irina hugged onto him as well, and his sword was beginning to get unsheathed. At the same time, Lydia begged Varvatos not to fight, but Ard thought this was completely off, because Lydia used to be a barbarian that was manlier than him. By the time the movie was over, Ard was glad he was no longer connected to that miserable life. But while they walked around the plot development district of town, they saw a group of men huddled in an alley and discussing the way they're going to eliminate the queen using a magical sigil. As they began walking away, Ard decided to follow those guys, and they went down into the sewer the men went in. As they snuck around, they saw a giant magical circle on the wall, but Ard realized that they've been trapped, and a group of bandits corner them from behind. However, the leader activated the magical sigil and attempted to burn Ard alive, revealing that they only cared about bringing their target. But when Ard continued walking forward through the fire, he told them that their magic was powerless against him, and launched an attack towards the magical sigil on the wall, destroying it in that instant. He tells them that no one will interrupt his date, and summons a large spell that casts lightning onto all of them. With no one but the leader left alive, he decides to unleash all of his power to transform into a demon, and casts a large lightning burst towards the ceiling, escaping through. Ard tells the girls that he's going to be tailing him, revealing that he has the power to fly after him, and starts chasing after the demon and tries to burn him down. When the demon manages to escape the hole, he sees a child and grabs her to shield against Ard. As all the villagers start to panic, Ard tried screaming for all the villagers that he is the son of the greatest mage, and promised to defeat the demon. But when the demon reminded him that he has a hostage, Ard wondered what he was talking about, and revealed that it was all an illusion this entire time. The demon tried casting a chain of lightning towards him, but while it tried to fly away, Ard told him that he can't ever escape his power, and casted the Flash of Babel, annihilating the demon with a burst of magical energy. After landing on the ground, the mother thanked him for saving her daughter, and everyone thought he was the most powerful man in the entire town, and started throwing him up and down. The following day, Ard was granted an audience with the queen, and he thought she had an abundance of elegance, beauty, and massive Ard wondered how he could take advantage of her, so Irina called the queen Rosie and told her that she's missed her. Everyone was shocked by her disrespect towards the queen, but the queen revealed that they were lifelong friends, so she will not allow anyone to censor her. She told Ard that she will give him the greatest gift of all, telling him that she will make him her husband.
もう少しわかりやすく言った方が良いか
I like you, and I want you. Now we can do this the easy way, or we can do it the hard way. The choice is yours.
She begged him for his seat in front of everyone, but Irina said that Ard was hers, while Ginny was excited for another woman to join his harem. The queen realized she was too tired to deal with them, so she decided to just promote him to Pentagon class. But Ard knew that it would cause problems, so he begged her to increase the budget of his academy instead. She thought it was admirable how he cared more about others instead of his personal gain, so she decided to award him both the higher title and the increase in budget. Ard realized that his dumb ass made the situation even worse. Meanwhile, the evil mages gathered to develop a plan for defeating Ard, knowing that he can't be a match for the woman who wants to destroy the entire world. The next day at school, a girl confessed her love for Ard, but he apologized because he doesn't want an ugly bitch being his side chick, so he asked her if she would like to stay in the friend zone. But the girl realized he must be a virgin, so she decided to just get him in bed to teach him a lesson. However, Irina showed up ready to destroy the entire field, so the girl decided to run away. When Ard tried thanking Irina for saving him, she walked away from him. That night, he wondered what the fuck he possibly did to make Irina upset, but Ginny distracted his thoughts and came into his room, removing all of her plot armor. She was glad that he was getting popular, but she didn't want a different girl to steal his first time, so she told him that he could do anything he would ever want to her. At the same time, Irina realized that she must have upsetted Ard earlier, so she went into her wardrobe. Ard wondered what she meant by playing with his demonic Excalibur, so she used her charming evil eye to enchant him, and his body was paralyzed. Irina saw the two of them and started screaming, calling Ard a Bakker repeatedly. She nearly destroyed the remaining 2 brain cells he had and started crying. But Ginny told her that she should stop before making Ard dislike her even more for being so childish. Those words pissed Irina off, and she told her that it's her fault because all the women in the academy want to chase after him, and said that she'll beat her up for the way she's been acting. Ginny accepted, but Ard told them to shut up and get on their knees for him. Both of them got on their knees, and he told them to apologize to each other. But before they could both say their apologies and shake hands, Professor Jessica told them to stop right there. With the upcoming tournament, she revealed that they should battle against one another, because if they reach the top spot, Ard will become a professor of the school. Ard wondered what she's talking about, so she revealed that the headmaster will make Ard a professor. But when the girls tried telling her they weren't interested, the professor revealed that other professors get cool uniforms and asked them if they wanted to see it. Both of them agreed immediately and promised to burn each other to a crisp to see Ard in a uniform. At the tournament field, Isekai'd along with Ard's parents were one of the judges, but he was mainly pissed off because Olivia was still sitting right next to him. When Irina's turn approached, Ard began praying for her to lose so he doesn't become a professor. The match began, and Irina's opponent launched a fireball, but she narrowly evaded it. While she was on the ground, she saw Ard praying for her, so she regained her confidence and casted the script magic he taught her to surround her opponent with magical circles, and launched her fire magic to burn her energy away, winning the match in that instant. She screamed to Ard that she won, and while walking back to her spot, Ginny complimented her for doing so well. But Irina told her that she's looking forward to seeing her in the finals. The matches continued with both of them slowly defeating all of their opponents, and before long, they had both made it to the finals. However, Isekai'd remembered the things his daughter used to go through, and was simply sitting there silently rather than celebrating. The final match was going to begin, but Ard felt like something was off. As soon as the battle began, a mysterious man stood up and began transforming into a demon with wings. Several of them began appearing, and the planted bombs began going off throughout the stadium. While Ginny and Irina were fighting off the demons, one of them tried slashing Ginny, but her defense wasn't enough to keep her from falling down, so Irina shot the demon. She tried helping her up, but as soon as they locked hands, a giant spark crushed the ground, and a golem began forming before their eyes. The two girls tried using all of their magical energy at it, but the golem was unfazed, and before it got closer, Isekai'd came to defend them. With his magic, he casted a tornado to pick the golem up and crush it down, and as he strengthened his power, the golem started cracking until it was fully broken into pieces. Irina was glad that her father was that powerful, but Professor Jessica was glad that everything was going as planned, and stabbed her father from the back. They wondered why she would do such a thing, but she revealed that she's actually Elzard, the king of dragons, and that she'd plotted all of this just so she could capture her. Ginny tried releasing all her magic to buy some time for Irina to escape, but Elzard casted her away with her magical powers. As she was about to eliminate her, Irina ran to hold her off, but Elzard knocked her away. However, Irina begged her to just take her away without harming her friend, so she released her wings and began taking her away. Later that day, Isekai'd was healed by Ard's magic, and as soon as he woke up, he revealed that Irina was kidnapped by the King of Dragons. Ard told them that he will rescue Irina, so Isekai'd took him to the most secret place in the nation, the royal treasury. Once he was gone, Ard's father asked him if he's worried about Ard discovering the truth about his daughter, but Isekai'd explained that Irina spent all of her life locked inside to conceal her secret. But she changed after meeting Ard and wondered if Ard would ever be able to handle the truth. At the same time, Irina remembered the time when they promised to become friends, but when he asked her to say the truth about herself, she tried revealing it, and he disappeared after she spoke those words. At that moment, she woke up to see that she was tied to a magical orb, and the dragon told her that she wants to drink the blood running in her family. She showed her the Orphan of Chaos, saying that her blood will be used to resurrect one of the evil gods, allowing her to achieve her goal of destroying this rotten world that she's hated her entire life. However, Irina screamed that Ard will come to her, but Elzard asked her if he would still stay by her side after discovering the truth. The barriers were released, and the orphan was about to eat her out. On the other side of the world, Ard had gathered some superhero outfit to save Irina, and told Ginny that he'll definitely save her, so she should just make them some dinner because he'll be back by nighttime. Before flying off, he told her that they should laugh and joke like they used to, and took flying with his boots. The orphan was about to turn this into a different type of anime, and opened his disgusting filthy mouth to release a tentacle. But before it could reach her face, the monster exploded in an instant. All of them looked towards the sky, and they saw Ard flying before them. After descending to the ground, he activated 9 magical casts and released all of their magical powers at them. Once he was done, he released Irina from her entrapment, and she ran to hug him, saying she was scared the entire time. Elzard saw the way she clinged onto him, and the excitement of seeing her desperation caused her to begin transforming into her dragon form. She told him not to be so happy with a monster like her because her true name is Lavel, the true royalty, and she carries the blood of the evil gods. However, Ard told her that none of it matters, because to him, she is kinder and more courageous than anyone he knows, that she's like the sun to his life, so he will never forgive her for her words. Those words enraged Elzard to release a magical strike towards Ard. But when the dust settled, he was standing with his spear blocking her attack. She continued launching her magical attacks towards him. But Ard told her to watch her feet, and as soon as she landed, he launched his fire blow to incinerate her in her place. As the fire burnt away, Ard warned her that her death is near, so he promised to destroy her, and launched his spear to send her into the sky. Irina was glad that he made it out safely, but he knew it wasn't over. And from the sky, Elzard had transformed into her final form and was preparing for her final assault. She launched all of her energy in a magical breath, but Ard told Irina that he preferred it if she didn't watch the battle from here on. Ard hugs onto the statue, and the shield blocks all of the attack's power coming at it. She wonders just who he is, and Ard asks Lydia if they could dance together once more, transforming her into a sword. He launches towards the sky, and as he flies after the dragon, he narrowly evades the magical attacks coming from below. His system alerts him of the attacks coming from his side, but Ard summons his executioner ray, and releases all of his power towards Elzard. She dodges every single one of the strikes, but she keeps taunting him, telling him that while Irina is a monster, he's much worse than she ever could be, because she'll fear him and abandon him one day. As he sees Irina looking sadly away from him, Elzard tells him to die in isolation, but Irina screams his name and tells him that he shouldn't lose to a worthless lizard. Those words allow Ard to realize that he's no longer alone, so he summons Lydia's Phase 2, and he begins wearing his full body armament, allowing him to regain his previous face. Elzard activates her ultimate weapon, but it fires straight back towards her, so Ard reveals that he knows everything about her attacks now, including what's buried inside her soul. He explains that she was the one who was depressed because of her life in solitude, but he won't forgive her for dragging his friend into this, so he tells her to perish in her place. He activates Code Sigma, and the magical sigils create a mountain above him, expanding in size. As soon as they were fully charged, he released his ultimatum 0.
Fire. Lydia, こたびは大義であった。我が魂の中へ戻るがよい。
Once the battle was over, Irina tried telling Ard that he was incredible, but he wondered if she would continue being his friend. She told him that she will always be his friend, so as he began walking home, Irina realized that he still wanted to be her friend after discovering her secret, so she promised to become strong enough to stay by his side. Later that night, a girl eliminated a monster, and she was glad that she could finally help her big sister, Lydia. However, she smelled herself and realized that she was overdoing it after grinding in the dungeon for 3 years. When she came out of the dungeon, she was shocked to see the civilization around her, and when she ran into an alley to hide, she wondered if things were really different after 3 years. However, a strange man came up to her, saying that he was impressed she spent 3,000 years training. She wondered what he meant, so the man revealed that time moves differently when fighting in the dungeon.
Stop the cap. Stop the cap right now!
She started following the man around town, so he apologized and told her that he was serving under Lydia and Varvatos. But when she asked how the demon lord is, the man told her that he was dead, but he secretly revealed that his soul was reincarnated into this world under the name of Ard Meteor. Hearing how he abandoned his duties angered her. At school, the headmaster was telling them of his latest scheme to generate more profits for his pockets, so he wondered if they'd be interested in creating a school play. After the girls told him they'd love role play with him, the master revealed his true intention behind inviting them to the play. He had received a threatening letter to end the festival, so he was hoping Ard could protect them while taking part of the play. The headmaster went on to reveal that Olivia was also going to be helping them, but Ard knew she was plotting a different plot twist. But the only thing he wanted to do was twist her. However, Sylphie broke in looking for Ard, and he realized he was screwed. But Olivia knocked her down with a book, telling her that she hasn't matured in 3,000 years. Ard nodded because she was right, but Sylphie noticed it and realized he was the reincarnation of Varvatos. So she runs up to him and asks him what happened to her bigger sister. However, he pretends like he has no idea what she's talking about, and wonders how she knew he reincarnated. Ginny realizes that it makes perfect sense for him to be the demon lord, and Olivia wants to hear all about this Varvatos reincarnation. So Sylphie tells him that she'll force him into submission one way or another, but Ard tells her that he's not into flat boards.
What did he say?
She challenges him to a duel, telling him not to run away like the coward he's always been. But Irina tells her to shut up already and stop bothering Ard. Those words shock Sylphie, reminding her of her older sister, so she begs Irina to become friends with her. But Irina says she doesn't befriend flat girls, destroying all of her hopes. After hearing those words, she challenges Irina to a duel, and asks Ard if he's going to be a spineless dweeb and have Irina fight his battle for him. However, Ard realizes this is exactly the outcome that Olivia was hoping for, so he accepts the duel, but decides that he'll lose on purpose to throw her off. In the field, Ard faces off against Sylphie, and they tell him to destroy the cutting board already, but those words cause her to swell in anger and she rushes towards him. However, Ard holds her off, but she launches to strike towards the ground, advancing to strike against his sword, but Ard manages to parry all of her blows. He realizes that just being able to keep up with her must be suspicious, but she continues taunting him by calling him a weak little girl. Her words get to him, so he decides to land just a single hit and then lose, but with how close her sword was to cutting his face off, he realized she was open. However, this was exactly what she was hoping for and pierces his eye. But Ard flashes to knock her away and points his sword towards her. Olivia calls the match in Ard's favor, but the moron realizes that he just got baited. Still, Sylphie wanted to prove that she was stronger than the demon lord, so she summoned her ultimate demonic weapon and released her secret technique. With just his bare hand, he managed to shield the blow away, and when the dust settled, he stared towards her with gleaming eyes, and before she could launch her attack again, Ard released all of his magic. Just then, Olivia told her to stop already because she had poisoned all the students and knocked them unconscious. She told her that Lydia would be disappointed to see how dumb her sister has become. But Sylphie thinks this isn't anything compared to what Varvatos did. After letting those words out, Irina smacked her on the head, telling her to apologize because she shouldn't be using her strength to harm others. Hearing the way Irina lectured her reminded her of Lydia, and she began crying, apologizing for the way she acted. And when Irina patted her on the head, Barbados realized that she was just like her older sister. During class the next day, Ard was finally holding his first class, and since he would be playing the role of Barbados in the upcoming festival, he wondered who would be playing Lydia. Sylphie instantly recommended Irina and said she would take the role of the evil god since no one else would take it. However, they wondered how they would make money off all the visitors, so Ginny thought she had a genius idea and said that a maid cafe would be the best way to attract visitors, and loved the idea of seeing hundreds of women serving Ard. She handed everyone the maid outfits she had created, and while they were all shocked, Ard took one good look and thought that would get this video demonetized, but the guys thought their dreams were going to come true. However, the girls wouldn't ever wear that, but Ginny reminded them that their classmates aren't the only ones visiting them, because they will also get to serve Ard, and they might even have the chance of seducing him. Poor guys just all got c***ed, with all of them agreeing. Ard said that he's fine with the plan as long as they keep this video monetized, but Sylphie said she would gladly remove all her plot armor for him. However, Ginny told her that she doesn't have anything to show off anyway. Damn! And Ard realized two things were about to be long and hard, and one of them was this week. Outside the class, a raven was watching over them, and the clown was the one spying on him, telling him to enjoy his life while he can, before he reveals the truth to Sylphie. During the festival, Ard pretended to go on a date with Irina to patrol around the school, and when a guy offered to feed her his meaty stick, she told him that Ard's was bigger than his small little persuasion. Eventually, they saw the Sword King tree, where something special is said to be sealed at this location. But since even Irina's father didn't know anything about it, Olivia said she can't reveal the secret hidden in this tree. However, she might tell him if he could beat her in the Sword King tournament, because she went ahead and signed him up for it. The poor guy tried saying that he already has to do the play, but Olivia screamed at him, saying that if he doesn't participate, she might just go ahead and uncover his true identity, and laughed in his face. A few hours later, the maid cafe was finally ready, but before Ard could enter, Ginny appeared and enchanted him with her powers. As she screamed at them for trying to seduce her best friend, Ginny told her that they were simply serving him, and wondered if she could really compete with them. Because of those words, Irina put on her maid outfit, telling them that she'll be serving him as he's solely her master. Sylphie thought that they should just compromise and have her be the one serving him, but Ginny told her that no one wanted her flat ass to help.
You're a victim!
The announcer reveals that the sword tournament will begin tomorrow, and when they heard that Ard was also participating, Ginny wished she could fight him in the tournament, because his sword might penetrate inside of her. Irina told her to back off already, but Ginny remembered that they still hadn't settled their duel from before, so they promised to face each other off in the tournament. The day of the tournament finally arrived, and Irina's match was the first one up. She immediately defeated her opponent along with Sylphie, and the man facing off against Olivia surrendered before even beginning. When Ard won his match, he knew that losing at this stage would be suspicious, so the only one left to battle was Ginny. A giant man was her opponent, and he rushed towards her to strike down towards her sword, and knocked her out of the way. Ard realized that she's going to lose with how anxious she is, so Ard decided to stand up and told her that he'll allow her to do anything she wants to him if she wins. After hearing those words, she immediately ran towards and struck against his blade, feinting out of the way to slash him down and knock him out. She was excited to win, but when Ard's next match arrived, he struggled to hide his powers without giving himself away. However, she already knew that he was her long-lost brother, so she leaped up and struck down towards him, but Ard narrowly parried her blows away. He knew that losing would be too suspicious, so she began running to strike him down, telling him that an arena isn't a good place to be pretending. So before she could slash him down, he activated his mega wall and launched her into the sky. Everyone in the crowd called him a loser for cheating, and his dumb ass realized that he wasn't allowed to use magic. The final battle between Irina and Ginny arrived. Ginny told her that she has the bigger plot. Irina called her ugly, so Ginny ran forward and jumped up to strike down Irina. But Irina kept holding her ground and screamed that she will not allow Ard to have a harem. Ginny told her to just confess that she wants his long sword already, and everyone wondered why they were talking about Ard in the middle of the match. Poor Ard wished that his life would end already, but the girls got serious and landed the final strike against each other, and when Ginny collapsed, Irina was announced to be the winner. As they walked out, she told her that Ard belongs only to her now, but they continued arguing over who owns him. From the distance, the clown realized that almost everything was falling into place, so he was ready to commence his operation. The day of the play finally arrived, but when Sylphie looked at Irina, she was only reminded of her older sister. However, Irina was very nervous about acting in front of a large crowd, so Ard tried comforting her by saying she'll make the play more beautiful by just appearing in it. During the play, Ard realized how cringy it was playing himself, but after the play was over, Sylphie saw a person who looked like her sister from the back. But when she ran after her to see her face, she saw that it wasn't actually her sister. She was about to begin crying for how much she missed her sister, but the clown appeared before her again. Outside the theater, Ginny wondered why Sylphie disappeared, but came to the conclusion that Sylphie had finally fallen for Ard, which is why she was acting strange. As soon as she let those words out, Sylphie came up to Ard, telling him that she wants to meet him outside the Demon Sword King tree after her match. The final match of the tournament had finally arrived, but Sylphie's face was filled with gloom. As soon as the match begun, she teleported behind Irina and knocked her out, winning the match in that instant. Ard wondered why she's acting strange, and when nighttime arrived, she was waiting for him at the tree. Eventually, Ard appeared, and she told him that she's been watching him all this time to decide if he was actually Varvatos, but told him that she wants to eliminate him with all of her energy. The sword in her hand began to glow, with the tree activating, and Ard sensed a danger banging in his heart. The sword before her was the real holy sword that Lydia used to wield, and it was the secret that was sealed inside this tree. She told him it was coincidental that it happened to be hidden in the same exact academy he's now attending, and she summoned her demise Argus, and Lydia tried warning Ard to escape. The swords were now both under her control, and she rushed to slash Ard down, so as he tried to dodge the blows, he began flying away and wondered who could have brainwashed her. Everything was finally going according to the clown's plan, and he remembered how he revealed the truth to Sylphie. He told her that Ard was truly the demon lord Varvatos and grabbed her head, forcing the memories into her brain. She saw the way that Varvatos was standing above Lydia and how he released all of his magic to eliminate her, allowing Sylphie to see the real way her sister had died all that time ago. Now that Sylphie had played into his hands, it was finally time for him to be the most powerful man in the world. And Sylphie tailed Ard until she was able to slash him in the back and knock him down. She was glad he had finally passed away, but after he was gone, she began crying because her sister was still not back. So because this world doesn't have her sister, she was ready to annihilate it. Irina tried snapping her back into her senses, but Sylphie rushed to slash her down. And while Irina shielded the blow, Ginny began releasing her fireballs towards her. As she tried running to save Irina, Sylphie kicked her away and told Irina that she's going to eliminate her. However, Irina told her that she'll be the one to stop her since she's her sister, and Ard's voice commanded her to stop. He had released all of his power, so Sylphie rushed towards him, but when he tried to cast his magic cancellation, she simply slashed it away. He realized that the only way to save her would be to make sure her honor wouldn't be destroyed, so as she ran towards him, he evaded her attacks and began counting down. In the last moment, he took his sword to strike her, but Lydia's voice screamed in the sword for her to stop. The clown appeared and was shocked that Sylphie was this useless, so he knocked her down and called her a worthless dog. Varvatos wondered what he was after, so the man revealed that he wanted to eliminate him in order to revive their master, and took the swords and began to run towards Ard. Even as he sprinted past him, the only one injured was the clown, and Ard turned around to slash his arm off. The clown tried flying away to attack him with an aerial blow, but as he tried activating the sword's magic, he was electrocuted by the sword for rejecting him. Ard told him that he'll show him how to wield a holy sword. The mask fell to the ground, but Ard knew that the battle was probably long from over. As he went to take Lydia's sword, he heard her calling him a dumbass, and her soul went outside of it towards Sylphie. She called her a moron, seeing that she hadn't changed after all this time. She told her not to blame Varvatos, as it wasn't his fault for the way things turned out. The only thing she wants is for Sylphie to live her life to the fullest, and so that they can meet again one day. After she let those words out, Lydia returned to her sword and disappeared. A few months later, under a full moon, Ard and the two girls were on a field trip, but as he looked at their playing cards, he wondered how the magic scholar Verda and the champion Lydia ended up on gaming cards. The carriage stumbled on a rock, and in that moment, time froze around them. They flashed out of existence.
Yeah, boy.
A little boy appeared before their eyes, and when Ard asked him who he was, the boy said God would be the best way to introduce himself. Ard said he'll go along with his words, but wondered why they were summoned here, so the god explained that there were an infinite number of worlds with pasts and futures, and once time passes, it can't be regained. However, there was a person that was trying to ruin the flow of the world, and him getting in contact with the demon lord will vanish their worlds. Ard wondered what he truly meant, so the god asked him to eliminate that being, and hoped that he was the one who remained standing, bidding them farewell. All of them woke up under a sky where there were 2 moons, and Ard realized that they were transported deep into the past. He explained that until calamity hit the world 3,000 years ago, there were 2 moons in the sky, so they must be back in the nation controlled by Varvatos. Because of what the god was saying about the demon lord, he realized that meeting with Varvatos would be the only way for them to make any progress. But Irina hugged onto him, telling him that she's scared. Ginny decided to latch onto him as well, and the 2 girls completely forgot that they were teleported into the past. Just then, a woman was running for her life from a death stinger and was knocked back against a rock. As the stinger's sharp tip was about to penetrate her, Ard summoned all of his magical power to blow the stinger away. The girls began complimenting Ard, but they heard a familiar voice thanking him, and the girls realized that it was Olivia. She wondered how they knew her name, but Ard told her that her weapons of mass distraction are known across the lands, so he hoped she could go easy on them. Hearing his words, she released all of her powers to suck the air away, but after the girls passed out, she realized that he was truly powerful, so she told him to follow her. Back inside her village, Irina and Ginny felt like they were actually back in the Roman Empire, so Ard asked her why she brought them back to her home. She told him that she wanted to have his powerful blade inside of her army. After all, aliens have come into their world to begin battling against them, and Varvatos is the only reason for humanity continuing to survive. With all the power he possesses, she hopes that he could help them turn the tide of the war. After hearing her out, Ard decides to join her army as long as he could be enlisted under Verda's troops. She thinks he's insane, but that insanity makes her gates flood harder than the fountain in the back, so she accepts his conditions, and they go towards Verda's research center. This was part of his plan to protect Irina and Ginny since Verda's location was always safe. But as soon as he let those words out, her entire camp exploded in a giant flame, and he realized they were about to be screwed. Verda came from outside and was excited to see the fresh meat here, but they wondered if it was really okay that her entire center was destroyed. However, she told them that this happens all the time, and introduced herself as Verda, the beautiful magical research girl. Irina took out her card and wondered who the f this psycho bitch was. While they waited inside the lab, she wondered why they really came here, so Ard decided to reveal the truth to her. She screamed after hearing that they were actually from the future, excited because all of her theories had finally come true, so she agreed to take them in, but on a single condition. Just then, Sylphie broke through the door and started chasing after Verda. After not being able to catch her, she asked Lydia to come through, and with her footsteps coming through the door, Ard finally laid his eyes on the cannons he's not forgotten in 3,000 years. The girls were struck with her beauty, but after hearing the way she started yelling at Verda, they realized this bitch was a manly Amazonian. Once she was done screaming, Lydia finally saw the Tsar Booba and begged Ginny to join her at her dreamy villa right now. Hearing the way she was nervous, she realized that Ginny has never developed plot before, and thought she had found the rarest treasure in this world. But before things escalated, Ard pushed her away and told her to calm down already. But when she told him not to get in the way of romance, Ard told her that she was committing a fucking war crime. She didn't take kindly to those words, so she challenged him to duel her, and Ard agreed. Outside the lab, Lydia clenched her fist and ran towards him, but Ard managed to fend off all her attacks. And when she kicked towards him, he narrowly evaded with a millimeter. But she smiled and took sand to spray in his face, kicking him off and uppercutting the life out of him, sending him flying towards one of the stone pillars. He thought that she'd never change with her awful attitude, so he hopped down and began running towards her. But she took his blow head on and kicked him up, so he regained control using her head and kicked her to the side. With both of them wearing down, they rushed towards one another and punched each other dead in the face. After hours of their merciless fighting, they laid on the floor, and she told Ard that he lasted longer than she expected. He told her that he didn't expect her to like it so rough. Ard walked off, thinking this was the worst time to be alive, but Lydia thought he was interesting, and told him to join her unit as soon as he could. He told her that he would rather keep Ginny and Irina safe, but when she told him that she needed his power, he remembered hearing those words before and turned towards her. He told her that he would join if she could allow him to greet the Demon Lord, but she told him that he only meets with people he can trust, so he needs to accomplish a great feat in order to gain his respect. After Ard agreed, Lydia walked away and patted him on the head, and he realized how much he missed hearing her gentle voice. Later that night, a maid introduced herself as Latimer and told him that he could treat Lydia's home as his own. But when she left, Ard remembered that he eliminated his friend with his own hand, so he wonders if he could truly call her a close friend.
この感触ボリューム感やっぱ最高
Sensational.
A week later, Ard and the girls were preparing to ambush the opposing military, and while looking from above, he saw the giant amount of forces, but remembered that this skirmish wasn't a problem. Lydia commenced the battle, and Sylphie rushed forward with the front lines to slay all the monsters ahead of her. While Ginny was trying to help the healers, their backline defense was sneak attacked by the enemy general, and he casted his lightning to annihilate all the soldiers standing in his way. Ard knew he was after destroying all the supplies of the war, but this was everything he could have asked for, because it might be enough for meeting the Demon Lord. Lydia and her comrades had taken control of the fort and invaded it, but she wondered why their enemy general hadn't appeared yet. As soon as she let out those thoughts, a man informed her that the enemy general was invading their medics. As the man was getting closer, he stepped on Ard's trap, and an energy beam emanated to the heavens, burning him to a crisp in an instant. Lydia ran back to see that the enemy general was going to be tonight's barbecue dinner, and revealed he was the captain they'd been attempting to take down for months. Because of his achievement, she thinks it's more than enough to meet with the Demon Lord, and a few days later, a carriage was taking them towards his castle. Ard thought his epic castle was the best thing in this world, and the girls thought the inside was beautiful and gorgeous, but Sylphie told her that the only thing uglier than this castle was Varvatos' face. Ard pretended like he didn't hear anything she was saying, but a flame exploded down their door, and the man behind the clown mask introduced himself as Alvardo, but before he could keep talking, Varvatos finally appeared before their eyes, and Ard took a look at his old face, realizing that he was about to get by himself. He told them to follow him inside, and while Lydia was trying to talk to him, Ard noticed how cold he used to act towards her. While he sat on the throne, Irina thought his face is the hottest thing she's ever seen, and Ginny wished that the Demon Lord and Ard would destroy her. Varvatos wondered who they were referring to as the Demon Lord, but Lydia had no idea what they were talking about, and Ard thought something was off. Varvatos revealed that he's known there's another person with the title Demon Lord in this world, but he didn't know why he would be the one receiving that title now. Ard tried saying there was just a misunderstanding, but knew something terrible had happened. Inside Vera's lab, they wondered what could have happened, and Vera realizes that someone must have altered the flow of their history, which was why the gods summoned them into this world so they could eliminate him before going back into their world. She revealed that this world's Demon Lord appeared 3 years ago, and nobody knows the truth about his existence. Even Varvatos was unable to defeat that man. But before they could keep walking about it, Lydia broke into the room and begged him to join the front lines. As they walked up the mountain, Lydia revealed that their enemy was the Curse King, and that name left Ard in fear. He was the one who casted a curse that took control over Lydia, and one of the reasons he had to eventually end her. Mrs. Giant Cannons wondered what was wrong, but Ard just claimed that he was shaking in excitement. As soon as they began advancing towards the castle, a tornado appeared to eliminate the entire front lines, and Ard was the one who destroyed all of them. Lydia thought he was awfully motivated, but when he saw her smile, he remembered just how badly he hated the sight of it, because this time around, he promised to not let history play out the same way. As they kept moving forward, a giant explosion went off that began burning the building down, and before their eyes, they saw all of the enemy forces burning away. They kept walking closer, but a sword slashed off the Curse King's head, and the one who had defeated all their opponents appeared from the darkness. Ard asked him who he was, so he introduced himself as the Demon Lord, and declared war on Varvatos' army before disappearing. The following morning, all of the nation's powers had gathered to deal with the Demon Lord's declaration of war, so Varvatos said they will take him down with all their powers, and within a single day. Ard wondered what they were going to do about his immortality, so Varvatos told him that he has a secret for dealing with him, and commanded the troops to begin the raid on his castle. Before they departed, Latima told him that she'll take care of Irina and Ginny while he was gone, and left the room. As he sat on his bed, he realized that they've completely changed the course of history by saving Lydia from being cursed, so he wondered what would happen to their timeline. But the Demon Lord told him that everything will be different. He revealed that a catastrophic calamity would force history into correcting, and said that there's no need to hide his true identity behind Ard Meteor. He told Ard that they are one and the same person, and said that he is basically looking into a mirror. He took his mask off, and told him that it's not strange for both of them to be sent back in time. They were both Varvatos, and they were both reborn as Ard Meteor, but everything he had was taken away from him once again, so he has cast away the name Ard Meteor, and walks the world as a fallen disaster. Ard wondered how he was sent into this timeline, so he explained that God had also summoned him into this world to achieve his goal of saving Lydia. All of this was to atone for his sin, so he told him to join sides since they're both hoping for the same outcome. But before he could accept, Ard wondered why fighting the Demon Lord would be the only solution for saving Lydia. So Ard's older self said there were certain circumstances that will force them into fighting. After all, the order given to him by the god was destroying the entire world. Ard wondered how destroying the world could achieve his goal, so his future self tried reminding him of the way Lydia's life was lost. After the curse had swarmed her body, there was only one alien remaining for them to defeat, but Ard couldn't bring himself to battling that final man, as it would risk Lydia's life. This was the reason Ard's future self was angry, because had he shared those feelings, she wouldn't have stormed off alone into the battle, and became mind-controlled into a puppet of the enemy. His cowardice was the reason he couldn't bear the guilt, which is why he hugged the ground, and reincarnated himself as Ard Meteor. But even in that new life, everything got taken away from him once again. So for once in his life, he wanted to save Lydia and have her end his suffering, because he will have finally achieved something worthy. He told Ard to join him in his plan, but Ard remembered Ginny and Irina's faces, and even when he shook them off and nearly shook his hand, Lydia's voice told him not to be so stupid. The Demon Lord realized it was too sudden, so he told him he would wait 3 days before declaring him to be an enemy. After he disappeared, Ard went to join the girls for breakfast, and when Sylphie asked for seconds, Irina asked her why she's eating so much.
育ち盛りだもの。育ち盛り。
After sitting down at the table, Ard remembered the time Ginny asked him if he was the Demon Lord, and the way he coldly told her that he wasn't. Lydia shoved her massive cannons into his face in front of Irina, and told him that they're going to be hanging out today. In the middle of the town, she chewed his meaty stick, and began hitting on a random girl. She hugged onto him, telling him to enjoy his life with some women, but he decided to just call her an idiot, so she punched him in the face. Ard said he'll mess her face up even more, and punched her back, telling her that her ugly face is so f***ed up it's beyond repair. Both of them started beating each other up in the middle of the town, and when they fell onto the floor, she asked him if his thoughts were finally cleared after that. Realizing that she actually knew something was wrong, he asked her what she would do if she needed to sacrifice the most important thing in the world to her, but she decided to take him to a different place before answering. In the middle of a rundown village, Lydia revealed that this was the place where she committed her sins, and ghosts began flying out of the earth, haunting her name out. They all screamed the words that they hated her for eliminating their children, and she struggled to face it. This was the city where aliens used to live, and when they attacked this fort to gain advantage in the war, Lydia had to eliminate all of the innocent citizens. She felt like a ruthless killer, and told him that she has already planned how she'll pass away, by constantly fighting until there were no threats to humanity left, and then passing away miserably. She told him she's not worth being saved, and patted him on the head, saying that this is the only way for her to keep her head high, so she begged him not to change the way she dies. After they went home that night, both of the girls were angry that she secretly went somewhere alone with Ard. But Lydia came up to hug both of the girls, giving them a gift to make up for how upset she'd made them. While both of them were enchanted by the hairpins she gave them, she asked Ard if he would like to drink some PG grape juice before the big battle. The following morning, they had already prepared to invade the enemy forces, and Verda was commanding her war robots to explode the entire field, while Olivia ran off with her beast women to slash all the monsters standing in her way. The dragons attempted to fire down from above, but the shields from the mage blocked them off, and while a few soldiers helped each other take down one of the beasts, Alvardo casted all of his magic power to wipe out the whole field. However, Barbados used his Hell's Gate to swallow his magic before he eliminated the allies as well. He realized that the Demon Lord's army was truly infinite as they kept on appearing, but hoped that Lydia would be the one to get them closer. As her back was against Sylphie's, she realized something was off and started running away. At the same time, Ard faced off against his future self, and when he asked whether he'll be saving Lydia, Ard told him that he won't be saving her. After all, this isn't what she desires, because what she truly wanted was to die in a way that repented for her sins after saving everyone. His alter ego wondered if he could truly grant her that wish, but decided to begin their battle anyway. Immediately, he casted a magical blow that Ard nearly evaded, and when Ard released all his magical power, he saw that his enemy stood unscathed from the attack due to his armor. From beneath his feet, a magical circle was summoned, and as soon as he leaped, tens of sigils were ready to blow him away. But Ard eliminated all of them. After he landed, he activated his void hole and began crushing his older self downwards into the ground. But he managed to break it apart and cancelled its effects. There wasn't anything they could do when both of them could just cancel the other's magic, and rather than keeping this a stalemate, his enemy revealed that he'd already predicted this outcome. It was the same reason he was expecting to hear his answer on the same day the battle began, and Ard realized that his friends were screwed. Back at the mansion, Irina and Ginny fought over who would become the sheath for where he sticks his sword, but Latima came in, telling them that she had an order from Ard to leave this place right away. As they ran through the dark forest, she told them that this was all part of Ard's secret plan to uncover the Demon Lord's immortality. They wondered what his plan was, so Latima explained that the Demon Lord had activated a soul separation spell, where he separated his soul from his body, and placed his soul into a crystal so he can live forever. However, his physical body can never come close to the crystal, and if that crystal was ever destroyed, then his immortality would be eliminated as well. Their secret mission was to destroy the crystal, because the current battle they're waging is nothing but a complete diversion against them. However, Irina wondered why they were the ones that got picked, so Ginny told her that she should just obey her orders before Daddy Ard got upset with them. At that instant, Latima noticed something was off, and threw them away to take the blow towards her leg. She begged them to run off while she held the enemy's back, so the girls began running away. Back in the field, Verda continued blasting away all the enemies, and when some of them flanked her, she turned around and shot them all off with her laser pistols. The Demon Lord's army was slowly advancing and annihilating all of the beasts standing in their way, but Sylphie wondered where her sister had ran off to this entire time. In the depths of the Demon Lord's castle, Irina and Ginny had found the crystal holding the Demon Lord's soul, so both of the girls summoned their spears to slash at it. But as soon as they stepped forward, a magical trap activated, and both of them were tied up. They wondered what happened, and before their eyes, Latima had appeared, telling them that their struggles were no use. This was the Demon Lord's ultimate plan, but he was glad to see their familiar faces once again in his life. He told Ard that if he valued seeing them again, he would have to surrender. This was the only way he could save Lydia from her miserable end, because even if it made her happy, he would spend the rest of his life in the regret of ending her with his hands. To be able to live with her once again, he promised to annihilate every last bit of this world, because the lives of others mean nothing to him. He knew that Ard felt the same exact way in his heart when he saw her corpse, so he decided to give him one last chance to change his mind before the girls met their doom. Latima revealed to the girls that the only reason she's doing this was simply to save Lydia, but she wouldn't reveal anything else, calling them nothing but tools against Ard Meteor. Ginny told Irina not to be nervous, because while they can't use magic, both of them had learned atypical magic, and they activated Ard's secret script magic to destroy their traps. However, Latima called all their efforts vain, and began summoning hundreds of legendary monsters to take them down. As she released the monsters forward, a giant tornado hurled downwards, and Lydia came down from the sky while annihilating all of them. They wondered how she was able to find them, so Lydia revealed that the little hairpins she gifted them were trackers so she could locate wherever they disappeared off to. She told Latima to give it up already, but Latima couldn't handle it, and swore to ruin this entire world if it meant saving Lydia, so she summoned all of her monsters. However, Lydia began slashing all of them away, and knocked Latima down, calling her an idiot. When she was unconscious, Lydia put her down and vanished towards the monsters, telling them that while it makes her happy how they care for her, this is the fate she's chosen and wants to create a world where everyone smiles. To her, being a champion will be achieving that goal, and dying miserably to repent for all of her bloodshed. She chose to be the champion before she could be Lydia, so she jumped up and told them to stop always looking back at the past, while slashing the crystal down. The Demon Lord's immortality had finally disappeared, and Varvatos felt a sharp pang striking his heart. Ard's future self begged Ard to join him in saving Lydia, but Ard asked him if he truly wishes to save her, or if he was just trying to run from the guilt of slaying her. The only thing he cared about was his own selfish desires, so Ard called him a coward, because they've never once thought about the way others feel. This is the one time they can give Lydia what she truly wishes for, but his opponent tells him to shut up and releases all of his energy. He tells Ard that while he does want to save himself, he truly wants to live forever with Lydia, and begins activating his power. They begin rushing towards one another, clashing their swords. His older self asked him why he reincarnated if it wasn't for the loneliness of living without Lydia. He asked him if he's forgotten his last words to Lydia, but Ard told him that he could never forget. The day when she screamed at him for accepting their ceasefire, Ard told her that he wanted to enter a non-aggression agreement, so he could allow them to live in peace. But Lydia knew that it would just buy the aliens time to recruit even more forces. However, Ard told her that he wouldn't be changing his mind. Hearing those words, Lydia called him a traitor, but Ard asked her if she ever considered the way he feels. Lydia told him she couldn't care less, so Ard told her to go do it on her own if she's that insistent, and that he doesn't care what she wants to do at all. After he let those words out, Lydia ran away. These words were the one thing Ard's future self regretted more than anything in his life, because if he just told her how he felt, she wouldn't have passed away, so he promised to save Lydia this time around, and knocked Ard away. As he rushed downward to pierce Ard, a magical field prevented him from moving forward, and in that instant, Lydia's arms extended to pull his sword back. Ard realized that if this is truly what Lydia wants, then he will slash his alter ego away, and told him that it's over. His future self tried reminding him of how precious the days they spent together with Lydia were. The times she was barbaric, and even when Olivia tried seducing him. Ard's future begged him to wait because he didn't want to fail this time. It was only when losing her that he understood how he felt towards her, and he confessed that he truly loved her. As his body disintegrated, Ard's body glowed with a golden hue, and the girls began to also glow away. Lydia realized they were finally going back to their time. The orbs of energy sparkled all throughout the land, and Lydia asked them if she could know what the future is like, and if it's a time when everyone lives with a smile. Ginny struggled hearing those words, but she confessed that every day is one where she can smile, and Irina told her that she enjoys every moment she's alive in the future. Hearing their words, Lydia was glad that her sacrifice wasn't for nothing, but she begged them to send one final message to Ard and hugged them tightly before they disappeared. Varvatos stared at the sparkles and heard the news that the Demon Lord was defeated. So before everyone, he appeared to tell them that the Demon Lord's army was defeated, and they all rejoiced after winning the battle. Lydia congratulated him, but he told her that it was all thanks to Ard Meteor. In the dimension between realms, the god was impressed with how he accomplished his goals, but when Ard asked him who he was, the god tried telling him that he was just their ally. Even so, Ard prayed that he would never meet with him again, and the god told him that he felt the same way. After that, Ard woke up to Sylphie's flat board. What an awful thing he had to wake up to, so Olivia apologized for not giving him a better view. They had arrived to the ruins where Olivia used to live, and Irina told him that Lydia had left a message for him before leaving. Hearing those words filled Ard with sadness, but Lydia's ghost pushed him forward, and as he was shocked, she pointed her finger towards him, before disappearing once and for all. Watch this next video. Till next time, my fellow legendary plot masters.